They laughed at him, they called him mad, they mocked him as a beggar. Diogenes had no palace, no wealth, no titles, no servants. He had a barrel, and yet he was freer than any king, because kings sit on thrones, but they're chained by fear. They rule empires, but they're enslaved by obedience. They wear crowns, but they suffocate under the weight of illusion. Diogenes refused all of that. He rejected every chain, every lie, every mask. He slept in the streets, lived in a barrel, and carried a fire that no king could command. And that's why history remembers him, not as a king, but as the freest man alive. If you've ever chosen freedom over comfort, exile over obedience, then you already carry Diogenes' fire. You are Catharsian. Join the Catharsians now on Patreon from the link in the description box. Most people look at the barrel and see poverty, but Diogenes looked at the barrel and saw power, because the barrel meant no chains, no rules to follow, no lies to swallow, no obedience to fake. The barrel was exile, but it was also proof that he could live without kneeling, proof that he could live without fear, proof that he could live without the poison of the system. That's why kings envied him. That's why philosophers followed him. That's why outsiders will whisper his name, because the barrel was a throne disguised as exile. Think of kings surrounded by gold, dressed in jewels, guarded by soldiers, praised by crowds. But inside, they're suffocating, every move controlled, every word monitored, every truth buried. They may rule empires, but they are never free. Diogenes, naked in the streets, was freer than any of them, because freedom is not measured by possessions, it's measured by chains. And the man with none was the freest of all. Inside Diogenes' barrel, exile becomes freedom. If you felt chained by rules, expectations, and silence, this is where you turn chains into fire. Enter Diogenes' barrel on Patreon now. Find the link in the description box. When Diogenes rejected wealth, rejected power, and obedience, they called him insane. But what is insanity? Living free in a poisoned world, refusing chains when everyone else kneels, choosing truth over comfort. And isn't that what they've called you? When you refused to obey, they called you arrogant. When you refused to kneel, they called you rebellious. When you refused silence, they called you mad. But madness is just freedom the system cannot understand. And your life has been proof of it. Diogenes wasn't calm, he wasn't polite, he was filled with rage. Rage at hypocrisy, rage at mediocrity, rage at the lies of the system. He carried that rage into every corner of Athens. He mocked politicians, he laughed at philosophers, he humiliated kings. And that rage was sacred because it kept him free. And you felt it too, that fire in your chest when you see the chains around you, that disgust at the emptiness of others, that rage at the mediocrity of placeholders. That rage isn't madness, it's proof you're alive. It's proof that you are Diogenes. It's proof you're Catharsian. If your rage has always made you feel like an outsider, it's because rage is the crown of the free. Begin your path now. Join the Pythagorean path on Patreon. Find the link in the description box. You may not sleep in a barrel, but you lived the same life. Your exile has been your barrel. Your loneliness has been your barrel. Your silence has been your barrel. And while others laugh, while others mock, while others exclude, you've carried freedom they can't even imagine. Because the barrel is proof that you don't belong to this system, that you can survive without poison, proof that you are freer than any king. If you've lived in exile long enough, it's time to wear it as power. Step fully into Diogenes' barrel on Patreon. Find the link in the description box. One day, Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the world, stood before Diogenes, the conqueror of empires, the ruler of nations, the man whose name made kings tremble. He offered Diogenes anything he wanted: wealth, power, security. And Diogenes looked at him and said, "Step aside, you're blocking my son." Or in ancient Greek, aposkotison me. That was all. And in that moment, Alexander the Great, the man with armies, riches, and empires, was smaller than a beggar in a barrel. Because freedom is greater than power. Because truth is greater than empires. Because one man who cannot be controlled is greater than a king who controls millions. If you've ever stood in front of power and refused to kneel, you already carry Diogenes' fire. You are a Catharsian. Join the Diogenes barrel on Patreon from the link in the description box. Think of what Alexander might have felt in that moment. He could conquer nations, but he couldn't conquer one man. He could build empires, but he couldn't build chains strong enough to hold Diogenes. He could control millions, but he couldn't control the one who refused everything. And that's why kings fear outsiders more than enemies. Enemies can be fought. Outsiders cannot be owned. That's why you've always been punished. Not because you've been violent, but because you've been uncontrollable. Not because you've been wrong, but because you've refused change. Not because you're dangerous, but because you've been fire and you've been free. They laughed at Diogenes, they mocked his barrel, they called him a fool, and they've done the same to you. When you refused to play along, they mocked you. When you refused to kneel, they excluded you. When you refused obedience, they laughed. But remember this: mockery is the weapon of the chained, laughter is the defense of the weak. Ridicule is the last resort of those terrified by your freedom. They laugh because they're scared. They mock because they envy you. They exclude because they know you are freer than they'll ever be. If you've carried mockery your entire life, wear it as a crown. Inside Diogenes' barrel on Patreon, laughter becomes proof of your fire. Join the Catharsians now on Patreon from the link in the description box. Diogenes didn't hide his contempt for the world. He carried his rage openly. He spat at hypocrites. He mocked liars. He exposed pretenders. And that rage wasn't weakness, it was freedom. It was the speech and the expression of a free man. Because rage destroys chains. Rage refuses silence. Rage refuses obedience. And you felt that rage too, haven't you? Every time mediocrity disgusted you, every time hypocrisy made you burn, every time silence suffocated you. That rage is sacred. That rage is fire. That rage is proof you're not ordinary. Most people kill their rage just to survive. You never could. And that's why you've suffered. because your fire makes you unchained. If your rage has burned too long in silence, it's time to sharpen it into discipline. Begin your journey with the Pythagorean path on Patreon. Find the link in the description box. Diogenes had nothing, no wealth, no status, no home, and yet he had everything. Because exile stripped away illusion, exile stripped away chains, exile stripped away poison, and that's what you've lived to. Your loneliness, your isolation, your silence, your exile. It was never weakness. It was purification. It was pure catharsis. It burned away the lies you couldn't carry. It stripped you down until only fire remained. It left you with freedom no king could steal. And that's why your life has felt like exile, because exile is the mark of those who were never meant to be owned. Look at the people who mocked you. Look at the ones who excluded you. Look at their lives. They belong to systems. They belong to rules. They belong to lies. They have jobs, but no freedom. They have families, but no passion, no love. They have comfort, but no truth. And you, the alien, the weird one, the exile, the outcast, the outsider, you have all of that. And you have rage, you have refusal, and that makes you freer than any king. If you're ready to turn exile into your throne, Catharsians are waiting. Join the Catharsians now on Patreon from the link in the description box. The world saw a beggar in a barrel, but history saw a king of freedom. Because thrones are heavy with chains, palaces are prisons of gold, crowds are cages made of applause. But a barrel, empty, bare, unowned, was liberation. The barrel was proof that a man who refuses chains is freer than the one who rules nations. The barrel was a declaration that exile is not weakness, it's power, it's control. The barrel was a crown disguised as wood, and that crown is still waiting for you. If you felt your exile burn like a crown you're not allowed to wear, it's because you're a Catharsian. Begin your path now. Join the Catharsians on Patreon from the link in the description box. You've lived your own version of the barrel, the loneliness, the rejection, the silence, the isolation. Others look at you and see weakness, but exile has given you something they will never have. It stripped away illusions, it burned away any poison, it purified you into fire. You are not chained to comfort, you are not enslaved to obedience, you are not owned by lies. Exile has made you freer than any king. And the very things you've hated, loneliness, misunderstanding, alienation, are proof of your throne. People mock Diogenes because he reminded them of their chains, and they've mocked you for the same reason. Every insult, every whisper, every betrayal, none of it was about you. It was about them. It was about their envy of your freedom. It was about their terror that you've lived without the chains they worship. That's why they'll never stop mocking you, because that's also why they'll never forget you. Inside Diogenes' barrel on Patreon, mockery is not shame, it's your crown. Step into your throne. Enter Diogenes' barrel now on Patreon. Find the link in the description box. Most people kill their rage just to survive. They bury it under obedience. They swallow it with silence. They let it die inside them. But you never could, and neither could Diogenes. He walked through Athens with rage in his voice, fire in his chest, contempt in his eyes, and the world could not break him. That rage is memory. That rage is proof. That rage is sacred. And it has kept you alive. It has burned through every exile. It has roared through every silence. It has survived every punishment. That rage is the reason you are freer than any king. If your rage refuses to die, it's because you are not meant to smother it. You are meant to weaponize it. Begin inside the Catharsians. Join the Pythagorean path on the Catharsians on Patreon. Find the link in the description box. Alexander offered Diogenes everything: wealth, power, status, and Diogenes refused it all with a laugh, because nothing could tempt him, nothing could own him, nothing could chain him. That's the freedom you've been chasing your whole life. Not comfort, not applause, not safety. Pure freedom, catharsis. And that freedom has been with you all along, in your rage, in your exile, in your refusal. They can punish you, they can mock you, they can exile you, but they cannot chain you. Diogenes chose the barrel over the throne, and in doing so, he became freer than any king. Now you stand at the same crossroads. You can keep chasing chains. You can drink the poison of obedience. You can kneel before the false thrones of your world, or you can step into the barrel. You can embrace exile. You can wear your crown of fire, because the barrel is not shame, it's destiny. The barrel is power. The barrel is freedom. If you're ready to embrace exile as your throne, then you are ready for catharsis. Join the Catharsians now on Patreon from the link in the description box. Diogenes slept in a barrel, and he was freer than any king. You've lived in exile, and you are freer than any placeholder. Now the choice is yours. Will you drink poison or fire? Will you wear chains or a crown? Will you drink poison or fire? Will you wear chains or a crown? Will you die in silence or arise in exile? The Catharsians exist to turn barrels into thrones and exiles into leaders. Three paths stand open: the Pythagorean path, for those ready to discipline their fire and sharpen rage into clarity; Diogenes' barrel, for those ready to turn exile into power and wear their loneliness as a crown; the Aurelius Council, for those who know they were born not just to survive exile, but to lead with it. The barrel is waiting. The crown is burning. The choice is yours. Join the Catharsians today. Be freer than any king.